And we are live for another edition and the one of the newer additions to the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. We're going to get things all started up here in a couple minutes once more people file on in as we'll go through our Bristol Dirt predictions, fantasy advice over the next hour. Again, we usually, going forward, going to do these on race day. The race was supposed to be today. Of course, they ended up postponing the race till tomorrow. Hence, we are doing the stream a little bit later at night. But we're going to see how this thing goes once again. Remember, the truck race got postponed as well. So the truck race will be tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time on FS1. On Fox at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the Cup race. There's no rain on site in the forecast for Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee tomorrow, so they will get the race up and running. And as far as this goes, this should be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking NASCAR over the next hour, getting everything even more hyped and anticipated for Bristol Dirt. And if you guys have any questions in the chat as far as fantasy advice you'd like me to ask throughout the course of this as well, I will be more than happy to help out. Make sure we got everything up and running right now, which, I mean, I'm assuming we do. Yeah, we're good. We are good. So I guess first and foremost, we're going to start off kind of similar. Of course, there was practice on Friday. They had two practice sessions, both 1 hour in length, the truck and the Cup Series. We're mainly going to stay focused with the Cup Series as we usually would because that's where the fantasy game is taking place. I might talk about the Truck Series a little bit because it hasn't been raced yet at all either with all the rain that they got again Saturday and Sunday, pretty much all day here today. So taking you through the starting lineup for today's race, we're going to go through the top 10 and then work our way outside of the top 10, see where some of the other favorites might end up lining up. On the front row, we've got Kyle Larson, dirt ringer himself, on the pole, and he's going to be tough to dethrone from that track position. Remember, no live pit stops. I think that's going to play into Larson's hand. Starting up towards the front, expect Larson to score a lot of points here this week. Denny Hamlin is starting outside pole in second. He is currently the points leader coming into this weekend. Larson is actually second in points, by the way. And row number 2, Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. Blaney won last week at Atlanta. Kyle Busch still winless on the year, but has probably been the best JGR Toyota outside of Denny Hamlin as far as consistency goes. Of course, his teammate Mark Truex Jr. does have a win this year, but Kyle Busch has been picking it up over the last couple of weeks. You'd have to assume that he might be due for a win here before long. Mark Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick back in row number 3. We mentioned Mark Truex Jr. has a win this year. He won a couple weeks ago at Phoenix. Alex Bowman, William Byron, and all Hendrick Chevrolet, row number 4. Byron with one win this year is locked into the playoffs. Bowman, a pretty good dirt ringer. Look for him to perform pretty well tomorrow. Austin Dillon and Joey Logano will be in row 5, rounding out the top 10. Logano, not as much dirt experience compared to, say, Austin Dillon. Dillon is a former winner of the Truck Series at Eldora and has had a couple of wins at Dirt Bristol in preliminary events over the last couple weeks. Ryan Browick, welcome to the stream. So, yeah, that's the top 10 drivers starting outside the top 10 to maybe look out for. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Newman have some dirt racing background. Again, we'll get into more of this a little bit later. Christopher Bell, maybe one of the favorites, is starting 15th on the grid. Bubba Wallace, he has won a truck race at Eldora before as well. He is starting 19th. Tyler Reddick, pretty good dirt racer. Chase Briscoe, those guys are both starting outside the top 20. And you look way further back outside the top 30. There's a lot of drivers making their first career starts in the Cup Series that have dirt racing background, like Stuart Friesen. We know him in the Truck Series. We've got Shane Golobic, Chris Windham, and Mike Marlar. Marlar is a former late model World of Outlaw Series champion, I believe, in 2018, if I remember that stat correctly. And maybe Ty Dillon as well. We talked about Austin being good on the dirt tracks. We'll see what Ty Dillon could do. Dillon had a little issue in practice, remember. And actually, Kyle Larson also, I guess, now that I'm just noticing myself, he had to make an engine change in practice. So I believe he is still starting at the rear, even though there was no heat races. So Larson, although he drew number 1 with the random draw due to not having heat races yesterday evening, I believe he'll be starting at the rear, so that'll actually bump Ryan Blaney up to the pole position. But Denny Hamlin will actually lead the field in the restart zone, having the lane choice there. So that is kind of a quick glimpse of the starting lineup, or at least the top 10 and the notable drivers outside of that. As usual, we'll go into some some sleeper picks coming into this week, and of course my must-haves that you guys should start in your lineup. Again, the sleeper picks are guys that you can definitely highly consider for your lineup as well, but the must-haves are guys that I highly recommend you start. The don't-haves are usually drivers that I absolutely want you to stay away from. I don't want to see them in your fantasy lineup. Before we get into that, of course, always we have the Fantasy Live League on the NASCAR Fantasy Live portion of the NASCAR app or website. So again, download the NASCAR app if you don't have it already, or go to the website, sign up using your email, go to the fantasy portion of the website or app, and once you go to fantasy, search KRC League and click join. It is free to join. If you win the season championship, you do get the option to, you can decline, but I don't know why you would decline, but you have the option to win 2 tickets to any race of your choosing in 2022 for NASCAR. I will buy them for you and a friend or a family member. I'll try to make it out to the race myself. It's really going to depend on exactly where it's at, mainly due to travel purposes, but I will do my best. We will have a prize for the regular season champ and the champion in the playoffs as well. Prone to rain, right? Yes, unfortunately. So that is another reason why we're doing this now. We were originally scheduled to do this podcast at 2 p.m. And live stream it this afternoon before the race, but unfortunately, with the race getting postponed, it is postponed until tomorrow. Again, truck race is at noon Eastern Standard Time, and then the Cup race is going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tune in for those if you can, or, maybe listening to it if you have work or school whenever you get an opportunity to. I'm not saying skip out on, work or school, but if it's possible, yeah, go ahead and get it done. Stream is frozen. It's working on my end. It's back. Okay, yeah, it was probably just a little lag, that's all. Yeah, it might come and go from time to time. Who knows? But yeah, we're here to talk fantasy. That's why this is the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. And again, Dirt Bristol is this week. So drivers that are don't-haves that I do not think that you guys should put in your lineup for tomorrow's race. Remember, the lineup doesn't close yet. Let me double-check just to make sure of what time it closes tomorrow with it being postponed. But with the race not starting at all yet, you can adjust your lineups. 4:15 is the drop of the green flag tomorrow, so at 4:10, the race picks will lock. So you will not be able to change your lineup after 4:10 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So if you have work or school tomorrow, definitely make sure you change your lineups tonight before you forget so. So yeah, going to roll into the don't-haves for this race. Let me pull my Google document up right now and get my notes on me. Probably should have done that before we started, but you know what? We're still new to the podcasting game here, so. All right, the don't-haves. We're going to start off with an interesting one for the don't-haves this week, and we're going to start off with none other than Brad Keselowski. So Brad Keselowski is the first driver I have for the don't-haves coming into this week. Brad Keselowski has no dirt experience except for the fact that Brad Keselowski did race in a truck race at Eldora before back in, I believe it was 2014. He did not do so hot. He finished a lap down and he finished outside the top 25. Keselowski did not have a good running. That was when he was running for his own BK racing team, well, Brad Keselowski racing team at the time. So Brad Keselowski definitely does not have great experience with dirt racing, and the only experience that I could find was at Eldora, like I said, in the truck series, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. He did not have a great race that day. Going to pull up Racing Reference right now just to double check what year it was. I believe it was 2014 when I looked at it earlier in the week. Eldora Truck Series. It could have been 2013 in the inaugural year, too. It was not 2014, so it was probably 2013. Probably the first year. No, it wasn't 2013 either. What year was it? It was 2015. 2015. There it is. Okay, yeah, Brad Keselowski finished 28th in the Eldora truck race in 2015. It's his only dirt NASCAR start. Of course, again, only the Truck Series has raced on dirt in recent years, and the Cup Series has not raced on dirt in over 50 years. And Brad Keselowski in that race finished 10 laps down, and he didn't lead a single lap the whole race. So even though he got in a crash late, he wasn't running too hot. That was before the stage racing era, so yeah, not a good showing there for Keselowski. I don't know of any other dirt racing background Keselowski has. I haven't heard of anything that, he grew up racing on dirt or anything like that. And obviously he's been in NASCAR for quite some time now too, so even if he did, it's been a very long time. But yeah, he has virtually no dirt racing experience. We look at his practice times from earlier in the week. First practice for Brad Keselowski. I can't even find him on the list. Did he make a lap? 26th. Brad Keselowski was 26th in first practice. Final practice. Brad Keselowski was 14th. So Keselowski was outside the top 10 in both first and final practice, with first practice again being 26th. It's not good for Brad Keselowski. We look at the lap averages in final practice. First practice, there wasn't many lap averages. You didn't have guys out there for really longer than 10 to 15 lap periods. I don't know if you guys can hear my parents downstairs or not, by the way. I don't know what they're watching. They're laughing at something. 10-lap average, Brad Keselowski was 12th out of 34 in final practice. So I guess that's not too bad. 15-lap average. He didn't even run more than 15 laps. So he didn't even run 15 laps consecutively on the racetrack at all in practice. And he's been outside the top 10 in lap averages and just overall times as well. I just don't trust Brad Keselowski in your lineup. I would definitely stay away from Brad Keselowski. Pretty much all we got for Brad. We don't have a lot of information going into Dirt Bristol. This is definitely one of the wild card races on the season. You go in to these other races where you have more track facts going. It's almost like, it is going to a new track essentially, with it being a different configuration. It's not like it's concrete Bristol. Like we're used to in recent years, for sure. With it being on dirt, it's a completely different show. And again, Keselowski not having any ground. He's starting 20th in the race as well. Again, this is only a 250-lap race. And 100 laps in stage 1, another 100 laps in stage 2, 50 laps in the final stage. I don't see Brad Keselowski having a good day. I think he should definitely be out of your guys' lineup. And the only other guy we have for the don't have picks going into this weekend is going to be Eric Almarola. Almarola's had an absolutely rough start. And he's had a rough start to the season. He's slowly starting to pick it up. He finished top 15 the last couple races. 2 races ago, he finished 11th. And actually finished 20th at Atlanta last week. But he had a top 10 run going there. Just can't really do anything with Almarola. I don't know of any dirt racing experience he's got either. Just strange being from the state of Florida, because especially with the World of Outlaws, they run down there very early in the season when they start up in early February. Of course, the Dirt Nationals are in Volusia County, which is northern Florida, but still That's like near Jacksonville area, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I've got nothing on Almarola. Again, I'm Googling these drivers just to double check of the ones I have on my don't have list just to make sure they don't have any dirt experience. And Almarola, nowhere to be found on here. He's had a rough start to the year. The team has not had speed, and if they do have speed, like they did in the 500, and, even like they did at Phoenix somewhat, they just can't get the finishes that they probably deserve. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Larson fastest in 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 lap averages. Yes, in final practice he was. We'll get to the must-haves here in a little bit. And I have all my dirt racing facts. I definitely took some deep dives on these sleeper picks and these must-haves for sure. I guess we'll get into the must-haves next because they're obvious picks I think that most people would have expected for this week. But yeah, Kyle Larson, definitely going to be fast this weekend. Almarola in practice was actually 6th overall in final practice. 5-lap average, he was 12th. It's all right, but it's not great. 10-lap average, Almarola was 15th in final practice. And he didn't make any 15-lap stints. I don't know. I'm just not sold on Almarola this year. I mean, you guys would have to let me know down in the chat if you think Almarola is a good pick for your starting lineup, but I don't see it. I don't see Eric Almarola being a great pick. Larson is a must-have dirt Bristol. Well, Michael's getting into Kyle Larson. I guess we'll get into Kyle Larson now. So going a little out of order this week, we'll go through the must-have picks for dirt Bristol. So here's the stats for Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's absolutely a must-have for this weekend. He has won the last 2 Chili Bowls. He's a 2016 winner of the Eldora Dirt Derby for the Truck Series. Kyle Larson last year in Winged Sprint Cars, in 68 races, he won 32 of them. Yes, 32 for 68. Last year in Dirt Sprint Car races, of course, after and during his NASCAR suspension, he went out dirt racing. That's varying dirt races, too. Some of those are World of Outlaw events. Some of them are just local shows mixed in. Then he hit at a certain weekend. I'm sure when the cash pot was a little bigger, he probably tried to hit those races, I'd have to imagine. But wherever he was going, he was virtually winning. Again, he won nearly half of his races, which is just absurd. He's obviously riding a hot streak this season as well. Kyle Larson's been the best driver at Hendrick so far this year. He's second in the point standings. He almost won Atlanta last week, so he's going to be wanting some redemption going into this week's race. And yes, as you mentioned there, he's got the fastest 10, 15, and 20 lap averages. 25, 30, all for final practice. Now, granted, I don't really take the 30-lap average as far as well as the 25 because less than 10 drivers actually ran that many laps consecutively. But he was the fastest of the drivers that did. And there are some notable drivers with a 25-lap average as well, like Tyler Reddick, who's got some dirt racing background. Ryan Blaney's in there as well. Very minimal for him, but his family obviously grew up on dirt. Racing dirt, so you'd have to assume that might help him a little bit. Blaney was fastest in final practice too, so I guess Larson being faster than a couple of those guys in the 25 lap averages, and only 16 drivers made 20 lap stints, or at least a 20 lap stint in final practice. Bubba Wallace is on that list as well. Another one of those guys that you definitely have to look out for this weekend. So Kyle Larson is absolutely a must-have for this week. I don't see Kyle Larson not having a good day. The only downfall to Kyle Larson, I would think, is that you look back when we thought he was an absolute lock to win that Eldora truck race, and it took him 4 years to actually win the race. And that's the only thing that scares me with Kyle Larson. He's obviously in better equipment than what he was for those truck races. I mean, he's got Hendrick Motorsports equipment, so that's an obvious plus. And even if he doesn't win, I mean, I'd be shocked if he didn't even get a top 10, let alone top 5. He's going to lead a lot of laps. He's going to get a lot of stage points. He's going to be up towards the front a lot for this race. It's actually going to be fun because they had to make that engine change in practice, seeing Kyle Larson start at the rear. But that could be troublesome for Kyle Larson, too. I don't want to talk down my must-have, and I seem like I am right now, but trust me when I say I'm not. Kyle Larson, I mean, he is going to be hauling through that field tomorrow afternoon. I mean, he's going to be starting at the back. A lot of the dirt ringers are starting at the back, so it'll be fun really to see what all of those guys can do back there. We had 2 must-haves for this week. The other one is, I'm sure you might be able to guess, Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, as we look at his dirt racing stats, 3-time Chili Bowl winner. Won the Eldora Dirt Derby in 2015. Of course, a lot of people remember him for this year's Chili Bowl, trying to run down Kyle Larson in the closing laps and flipping, trying to catch him running second. He definitely laid it all on the line there. Those are the 2 hands-on favorites. Chris Bell grew up, started racing in USAC, much like Kyle Larson, and a couple of these other sleeper picks I'm going to get into here in a couple of minutes. But Bell and Larson are the 2 guys to beat. They both have wins this year. The upper hand, though, for Larson, yeah, the equipment itself is pretty similar between Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports right now. You could say Hendrick on the intermediate racetracks have been better than Joe Gibbs Racing, but I think like overall head-to-head, considering that Larson Hamlin top of the charts. Hendrick has the same amount of wins with Byron, Larson each having 1, and then Gibbs has Bell and Truex winning 1. I mean, they're so even with each other right now. And even Penske's kind of in the mix too, but I would say that Gibbs and, just because of mainly because of the wins, that Gibbs and Hendrick are the top 2 teams in NASCAR right now. So yeah, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, must-haves. I mean, you probably didn't have to watch this podcast to really figure that out. Larson's running truck and cup races tomorrow. Larson and Bell are must-haves for sure. Yes, that is one thing too. With those cup guys running the truck races, there's 6 of them now, I guess. There was 7, but Newman didn't make the show for the truck race with them not being able to run the heat races, and 3 drivers missed the show in the truck series because they had 43 entries and they were only going to have 40 start in the field. But those guys are going to be running 2 races in one day. And especially running on the same day, they're going to have a really good feel of what the track's going to be like. And coincidentally, I mean, you look at guys that are trying to get more time, but the drivers that are in the truck race, not all of them, but most of them, are drivers that actually have pretty decent dirt racing backgrounds. Chase Briscoe, Ryan Newman would have been one, but now he's not in the race. But Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace has won dirt truck series race before, so he's in that race as well. I mean, the only guys I could think of that are in the truck race that you would think probably need experience, and that's why they're down there, would be Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Daniel Suarez, I think, would probably be the 3 guys that is wise of them to run. But the other 3, I think they're just trying to stay ahead of the field more than anything else. Not only having that knowledge, but taking it and getting even more track time compared to these guys that don't. And don't let those guys that aren't the dirt ringers foil the actual dirt ringers' success in both races tomorrow, really, but especially the cup race. We're going to get into sleeper picks. This is going to be interesting here. We have 4 sleeper picks for this week. And I went really out on the limb for a few of them. But I'll tell you why. First, we're going to start off with Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon is the first sleeper pick for the week. He's starting inside the top 10, 9th place. I guess with Larson going to the rear, he'll technically start 7th, so that's even better. Larson won the inaugural Dirt Derby at Eldora in the Truck Series in 2013, and we mentioned at the top of the show when we went through the starting lineup that he has won a couple preliminary modified and late model events at Dirt Bristol over the last couple of weeks. I think of all the drivers in the field, Austin Dillon has probably raced more times than anybody else on dirt in recent weeks at least, even more than Larson and Bell. So you definitely have to give the upper hand to simply racing at this dirt track and having more laps like Austin Dillon. Originally, I had also for a note that he was saving tires, which was huge because we were seeing a lot of tire wear in practice. But the difference is now, for Austin Dillon's sake, was saving those tires is that NASCAR is giving the teams extra set of tires. So that might not really come into play as much as what I thought it was going to originally because they only had so many sets and they were burning through them in practice. But NASCAR and Goodyear decided to give them an extra set to use because they saw all that tire wear. So as far as Austin Dillon saving tires goes, that's probably not going to matter much anymore, which looked like it was going to be a brilliant move for him and that team, that's for sure. And that's definitely something he could have picked on from simply racing at Dirt Bristol over the last couple weeks. Maybe he realized, that surface was wearing tires out in the other series. Hey, it's probably going to do that here too. They showed a side-by-side during final practice of Austin Dillon's tires that had 40 laps on them and Tyler Reddick's tires that had 40 laps on them. And, Reddick's was completely worn. On the outside of the tire, so like the right half of the tire, there was no tread left in it. At all, because of course these dirt tires have tread. There was no tread in the right half of the tire, like all the way around, and Austin Dillon's had most of, if not all of its tread left after the same amount of laps. And you would think Tyler Reddick is the guy that has more dirt experience than Austin Dillon, but I'd say that Dillon's got at least more success recently than Reddick, considering the fact that he has won in NASCAR Truck Series again at Eldora, the inaugural race. He upset Kyle Larson that night. Everybody had Larson knocked down. So, again, as far as like race win picks go for Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson, I don't see that they are absolute locks to win the race. I do think they're absolute locks for your fantasy team because they will run well and they will compete for the win. But to say that one of those two are going to win this race is an understatement. Like I said, it took Kyle Larson 4 years to win the truck race at Eldora. So, HRT, Wired Twist, welcome to the stream. Nice room. Thanks, man. Yes, this is my bedroom, by the way. That's why the bed's right here. But, it's pretty much all I got to talk about Larson and Bell. We're in the sleeper picks now. We were talking about Austin Dillon there for a second. Next one, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Look out for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. tomorrow afternoon. I keep wanting to say on Sunday, but today's Sunday, and they're running tomorrow. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a sleeper pick as well as Austin Dillon. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. actually finished 8th in the Chili Bowl Nationals this season. 2021, this year. A lot of people talk about that finish between Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 8th. And you can say, well, those two were 1-2. Stenhouse was 8th. And again, for one, Stenhouse is a sleeper pick, not a must-have. JTG Doherty Racing. They've been fast this year. Stenhouse is 17th in points coming into this race. He just fell back one spot to Chris Buescher after the last race. He didn't get any stage points compared to Buescher. But Stenhouse, that team has been fast. I think they're going to perform well. Again, he's got great dirt racing experience. He grew up racing USAC midgets just like Larson and Bell. So he's definitely got that dirt racing background. He's probably got more experience in dirt than majority of the field. Not all, but majority, again. And just to finish 8th in the Chili Bowl Nationals, might I add, I don't think a lot of people realize that aren't dirt racing fans that the Chili Bowl brings in hundreds of cars. They have to run qualifying race after qualifying race. It's so hard just to make that main event, that feature event. Very similar to the Knoxville Nationals as far as the World of Outlaws go, where you just get over 100 cars in one class trying to make what the Chili Bowl would be the biggest midget race of the season. The Knoxville Nationals would be the biggest sprint car race of the year in the world. And you just get all these hundreds of guys, so just to make the main event is huge. let alone finishing in the top 10. Stenhouse owns a World of Outlaw Racing sprint car team. So again, he keeps up with dirt. I'm not sure how many races he runs a year for the World of Outlaws. You know, Larson and Bell do run from time to time. I'm not sure if Stenhouse does or not. Didn't really look into that. I'm going to Google that right now, actually. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. World of Outlaws. See if he runs. I want to see his stats just to see if he's raced in recent years in the World of Outlaws. Yeah, nothing there. I'm not finding anything on Google. I know he's got a team. I don't want to read these paragraphs. I just want to find out. I just want to find out if Ricky's actually raced in it. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. dirt racing stats. It was just giving me like a bunch of information on his team. I just wanted to see if Racing Reference has anything. See, that's the problem with Racing Reference. They only do asphalt stuff. Yeah, I'm not finding any statistics that I wouldn't find like flat on Google right now. I have to go into these websites and actually read paragraph through paragraph for it, which we don't have a lot of time here. We only have an hour on this podcast, but driver schedule. So Ricky Stenhouse has actually raced 4 times this year. 4 dirt races. Some of those are the same. So Stenhouse has won a dirt race this year. He won a 360 wing sprint car race March 19th at Deep South Speedway. So not sure exactly where that's at, but I guess last week. It's interesting. Did not know that. And then he finished 4th at that same track the next night. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., again, he's a good dirt racer. He won last week on a dirt race, sprint car race, and then the next night at the same track, he finished 4th. On March 19th and March 20th, that would have been, last weekend, last Friday and Saturday, so it would have been right before the Cup race at Atlanta. So he was probably racing in the Atlanta area, but still getting that extra practice. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. knows how to race on dirt, so he is definitely one of the sleeper picks for this weekend. So, what's my name? Not trying to... Yeah, my name is the channel, Keegan Schneider. All right, the next sleeper pick is going to be Ryan Newman. Newman is the 3rd driver we have on the sleeper pick, going with Austin Dillon and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Look out for Ryan Newman. I think a lot of guys are sleeping on Ryan Newman this week. I was saying in the week building up to this that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was a good sleeper pick, and not a lot of people were talking about him. I watched the NASCAR Weekly podcast, and Jared kind of, the iceberg did kind of spiel into Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and nobody was talking about him. So he kind of said what I was thinking and what I've been saying on the channel all week. But for this week, nobody is still talking about Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman is the USAC Midget Series champion before he got into the NASCAR Cup Series. Before we knew about Ryan Newman in NASCAR, he was tearing it up in the midget racing world, growing up at a young age. It's been a long time since he's raced consistently. Of course, he was going to be in the truck race this weekend. Unfortunately, due to not having the heat races, he didn't get a chance to race his way in, so he's not going to have those laps. He looked fast. Ryan Newman was really fast in Truck Series practice. He was in the top 3 in both practices. So he was running fast laps there. Let me check to see where he was in Cup Series practice. I didn't see where he finished in Cup practice, but yeah, he was in the top 3 in Truck Series practice, so he was running quick. Also, he did finish in the top 5 twice at Dirt Eldora races. The inaugural race there, he finished 3rd and led a lot of laps in my race stats for the week. So Ryan Newman, even in recent years in NASCAR, has definitely been doing pretty good in the dirt races at Eldora, but still, and in the Truck Series. I mean, you got to take that into consideration. We were taking it into consideration with Austin Dillon, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson. You got to do the same thing with Newman. I know he didn't win, but 2 top 5s in 2 races? That's pretty good. Ryan Newman has shown 22nd in final practice yesterday, but let me look at the lap averages. You don't always want to look at like actual charts in practice as far as like the leaderboard. Not all the time, because that's only 1 lap. But if we look at the lap averages, let's see. 5 lap average, he was 14th. Let's see if he gets quicker. 10 lap average, 19th. And he didn't even make any 15. Oh, that's first practice. My bad. Wasn't even paying attention. Let me redo that. He was 11th in 10 lap average in final practice. 5 lap average, he was 17th. Nowhere. He didn't make a 15-lap stint. So we don't have much data to go on in Cup Series practice like we do some of these other drivers. 11th in Roush Fenway racing equipment is pretty good, though. Like we were talking about Keselowski being outside the top 15 in Penske equipment and Almarola being like right around 15th or so. And Stuart Haas racing equipment, Roush racing equipment, that's pretty good. What's better, F1 or NASCAR? Well, NASCAR is my favorite sport, so I'm going to be a little biased on that. I did watch the F1 race earlier today, but not going to get into that right now. This is the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. But still, did watch it. It was a pretty good race. But I've been trying to get into more motorsports in general. I've been watching a lot more IMSA the last couple of years when I can. I didn't watch Sebring at all, but I've been trying to expand my knowledge in motorsports racing outside of just NASCAR and dirt racing. But NASCAR is where it's been at my whole life. That's going to be a biased pick for my favorites, that's for sure. It will never be topped. That was a good question, though. Especially if you're new to the channel and you don't know. For sure. That's why we're here. That's why we live stream these now. That and I can't upload videos anymore, so I can't really like pull up my charts and everything that I usually have, unfortunately. So yeah, Ryan Newman is the next pick. This next sleeper pick is going to be the final sleeper pick. And he's going to be the final spotlight driver that we're going to talk about. By spotlight, I mean, we already went through the don't-haves, Eric Almarola, Brad Keselowski. The must-haves, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson. And the 3 sleeper picks to this point of Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Ryan Newman. This last pick is a risky one. It is very risky. He's likely not going to be on my fantasy team. But I think he's a sleeper pick. And that man, this is going to shock you all. J.J. Yeley. Yes, J.J. Yeley is a sleeper pick for this weekend. I predict that J.J. Yeley will get a top 15 finish for Rick Ware Racing. He might even get a top 10. Let that sink in. J.J. Yeley is 44 years old. He's been racing off and on in NASCAR for a while, especially for these underfunded teams in recent years like Rick Ware Racing. He has a massive dirt race experience background, but compared to these other drivers that have a dirt racing skills and dirt racing background that are with these lower funded teams, those guys are making their first starts ever in the Cup Series. J.J. Yeley has been in these Cup cars for a while, so he knows the ins and outs of the actual Cup cars itself. He's been racing with Rick Ware Racing for a little bit now, so he's not new to the team. And again, the dirt racing background for J.J. Yeley. He's a former USAC champion. J.J. Yeley at this dirt track called Fremont Speedway that I live like 20 minutes away from. He's the track champion there. For fastest lap anyway. In 2003, J.J. Yeley ran the fastest lap. Oops. I didn't mean to delete that message. My bad. I hit the wrong button. I meant to show it. My bad on that one in the chat. But anyway, by the way, thanks for stopping by Wired Twist. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. We're very close to 800 subs. But anyway, J.J. Yeley, he set the track record for the fastest lap time in a wingless sprint car, so basically a midget. Well, it's not a midget because it's normal size car. It's a wingless sprint. But anyway, he has the track record there. So he's been racing pretty much all over, but in Northwest Ohio, the name is definitely familiar with where I grew up of, much like the name Blaney. He was not born in Ohio, but still, he raced all over. J.J. Yeley has, again, he's been in the Cup Series for a while. I really do think J.J. Yeley is going to get a top 15. I really do. And again, a lot of that is because he's new to these cars. These other dirt racers that are in the field, like Mike Marlar, who has had success, Chris Windham, Shane Golobic, yes, they're dirt ringers too. Stuart Friesen, that's another one. I don't want to put any stock into those guys because they have not made Cup Series starts ever before. You might see a top 20 out of one of those other guys. They're in similar equipment as J.J. Yeley. None better, none worse, really. Maybe Spire Motorsports for Stuart Friesen is a little bit better, but not much than the Rick Ware Racing cars. But I think J.J. Yeley gets a top 15 this weekend. It's definitely a risky pick for your fantasy lineup, and that's why he's a sleeper. If he gets a top 10, I will not be surprised, honestly. I mean, I'll say good for you. I'll give you the round of applause for it because you're in a Rick Ware Racing car, but J.J. Yeley is that good on dirt, ladies and gentlemen. He has made a couple Truck Series starts at Eldora. He's finished top 15 in those. No top 10s, but he's got 2 top 15s. And I know it's the Truck Series, but still. Those are for lower funded teams, too. I think J.J. Yeley gets a top 15 in tomorrow's Cup Series race. I really do think so. He's starting out back. He's starting 34th. Again, with the random draw and them going based off of that car's finish from the week prior. That obviously factors into it. So it wasn't much his fault because I don't even think he ran in the Cup race last week. Whoever was in the 53 last week, probably Joey Gase. I don't know. Yeah, Yeley has only raced once this year. No, wait. Yeah, he's only raced one Cup race this year. No, that's not right. Let me just go into the standings and search them up. I don't know what I just clicked on, but those stats were not up to date. I know he's racing the Xfinity Series a lot this season, so maybe he hasn't raced as much Cup as I thought, but still. I predict J.J. Yeley top 10 on dirt. Yeley's a good dirt driver. Yeah, for sure. He drove for JGR 2006, 2007. Yeah, another good. Yeah, I wouldn't factor the JGR days so much into this, but just the fact that he's been in a Cup car as long as he has, so he definitely knows like the car itself. I know it races a lot different on dirt, but he knows the car, so he's got experience with Cup cars, whether it's good or bad. He's got experience, and he's really good dirt racer. I think J.J. Yeley gets a top 15. Who knows? He might be in my garage for my fantasy team tomorrow. That's not impossible. For sure. We haven't had a lot of people in the chat tonight. I don't know what's going on. Everybody sleeping already? sleep it in so they can get up and into work early so they can get off early to watch the NASCAR race. Fabricio, welcome to the stream. Hello, good night. From Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Welcome. That's awesome. Anytime we get these international people on here, that feels awesome. Talking NASCAR. We're having fun tonight, though. I don't know where a lot of you guys are. Maybe you guys just didn't get the notification. That's definitely possible. We had a lot more people last week for both podcast episodes. So one way or another, though, we are here. We are talking NASCAR. And we still got about 15 minutes left. If you guys got any questions for fantasy, definitely ask away. Now is definitely the time. We basically rolled through everything I've had to go through so far. The only other thing I can recap is the power rankings going into the week. My personal power rankings, and see who could possibly move up or down in my power rankings from last week to this week. And then obviously I'll make, after the race tomorrow, I'll have the new power rankings up and going. Number 10 on the power rankings after last week was Michael Mcdowell. He was actually in the top 10 in final practice. So that 34 car showing speed again. Maybe he could stay in the top 10. It's going to take a lot for him to get knocked out of the top 10 with that win, unless he keeps finishing outside the top. Like, at some point, these other drivers are going to start to get more and more top 10s than him, so I wouldn't necessarily, put it like that. But Michael McDowell at number 10 on that list. Number 9 was William Byron. Not really sure on dirt. He might fall outside of the... I don't know. He's got to win. I don't think he's going to fall outside the top 10. But we'll see where Christopher Bell goes on the power rankings as well. Bell is 8th. I think there's a good chance we're going to be moving Christopher Bell up in the power rankings. Bell's only 8 points behind Blaney right now in the point standings, and he's only 22 points behind Harvick, 25 behind Keselowski. I mean, realistically, Bell could jump up to 3rd in points from 9th. If he does that, with scoring a lot of stage points and scoring a good finish this week, maybe even winning, Bell's going to move up in our power rankings next week. Patrick Chatterley, welcome to the stream, by the way. 7th, going into the week, is Joey Logano. We have Logano 7th on the power rankings. If he has a good run, I think he'll move up because he's 3rd in the points right now. He was the only guy in the top 5 in points that is not in the top 5 in the power rankings. We had Kevin Harvick. We have Ryan Blaney 6th in the power rankings. Blaney, the name. I grew up watching Dale Blaney on sprint cars. Dave Blaney, obviously, very good. Dave Blaney is a former World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series champion, for those of you that didn't know. He's very good on dirt. Ryan Blaney was actually fastest in final practice yesterday. So he's got decent speed. He's starting up towards the front. He'll be on the front row with Larson dropping in the back. I think Blaney can get a top 10 tomorrow. I really do. Maybe he'll compete for the win, but I think he can get a top 10, which would be good. It would be 4 straight for him. Honestly, if he gets a top 10 as a Blaney fan, that's good for me. Kevin Harvick came in at number 5 on the list. Basically, if he just survives tomorrow, he'll stay he'll stay right around 5th. He might drop a spot, give or take. I don't see Harvick moving up a lot because I don't see him running particularly well tomorrow. But he's running the truck race, so he's getting that extra lap time on the day of the Cup race, so maybe that'll help. I don't see how it could hurt. And then we have Martin Truex Jr. sitting 4th. Brad Keselowski is 3rd in our power rankings. Kyle Larson is 2nd. He definitely could move up to number 1, and Denny Hamlin's number 1. Larson's 43 points behind Hamlin right now. That is the big difference maker of why Hamlin is number 1 on the power rankings. Denny Hamlin also has 2 more top 10s than Larson. Or sorry, 2 more top 5s. They both have 5 top 10s. Hamlin's got 2 more top 5s than Larson. Same amount of stage wins. Larson's got 1 win, but he's 43 points behind Hamlin. So Hamlin's just more consistent than Larson. Larson's been close, man. I mean, there's a very strong debate for Larson having 3 wins so far this year. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, he's only got 1. One way or another. But he definitely could have 3. He could have 4, considering the fact he's got a good chance to win tomorrow, even though he's starting at the rear. I can't wait. I mean, you guys need to tell me how hyped you are for the chat. I was hyped even for the truck race last night. I don't get hyped for truck racing too much. I'm just hyped to see Dirt Bristol. I think it's going to be a good race. I really do. I don't think it's going to be like an instant classic, but I really do think it's going to be a good race. I think it's going to be like the truck races at Eldora. They're typically good. The only truck race at Eldora I don't think was good was the last one they had in 2019. That was the Wreckfest. I was at that race, by the way. It was a Wreckfest. I enjoyed it because I was there in person. You never have a bad time at the racetrack. But at the same time, too, that was probably the worst truck race at Eldora they've had in the, 7 years they had it? There was 12 cautions. I just looked on Racing Reference yesterday. They had 68 caution laps in a 150-lap race. So, yeah, that was bad. Almost half the laps were caution laps. That's like the truck series that we know of now, though, too. That's not just Eldora. Like, that's just truck racing in general. I actually looked. The last 4 truck races at Eldora had at least 9 cautions. 9 or more. 12 in 2019, and then 9 in the 3 years before that. Crazy. And the 2016 race didn't even have stages like the other ones did. So that had 9 cautions per incident. The others hit 7, 7, and 10. If you don't count the stage breaks. But yeah, I was at the truck race in 2019. I wish I was at Dirt Bristol. I really do. I really do. Especially now that it got rained out, the tickets are even cheaper. I was just looking on StubHub, like, randomly, and they have tickets for, like, $100 now, which is, like, basically pretty close to even price, depending on where you were going to sit. Some tickets were going to be cheaper than that, for sure, but I said I was going to pay up to $200 to go see him. But because they sold out so quickly and everything on resale was about, I mean, you're talking like $700, $800, $900. They were just jacking the price up because they're like, oh, let me buy the ticket for normal price and sell it for $600, $700 and make easy money off of it. It's like when the PS5 came out and you had people buying 2 to 3 PS5s and selling them for like $1,000 a pop just so they can get extra cash. That's basically the same thing that you were seeing with the Bristol Dirt tickets. It was the same thing. Trevor Grimes, welcome to the stream. But yeah, if you guys got any questions in the chat, we're going to wrap this up in 6 minutes, bottom of the hour. Again, this is a 1-hour podcast every week. We're at 8:24. We've covered everything we've needed to cover. Pretty much before those power rankings recap, I didn't have to do that, but any fantasy advice, let me know. Bored to death at this hotel. I'd imagine with the lack of racing going on. I've still got something special lined up tonight, guys. I haven't broke any news about it, but keep those notifications on you. We got something special coming. Wish you could be at Bristol. Yeah, I wish I was there too. Really wish I was there too. Want to race. We'll be racing before you know it, though. It'll be all right. At least you'll get to see the truck and the cup race in the same day tomorrow. No rain. No rain tomorrow, so you get to go to both races. At least you're at the hotel and you're staying the extra day. I commend you for that. I've stayed for a couple rainouts. Brickyard 400 in 2018 got postponed until Monday. The Xfinity race did too, so they ran both races on the Monday. And what else? Chicagoland, I sat through like a 3.5 hour rain delay in 2019. They ended up running that same day, luckily. Michigan, June Michigan race in 2019 got rained out on Sunday, and that's my home track for those of you that don't know. So we drove up, hour, 15 minutes, no racing. We came back, and then we went back again the next day. And I actually worked on Monday still, and that's when I was working at Lowe's. I was working 4 a.m. to 1. So I was up at like 3:30 in the morning to get ready to go to work. 3:30 in the morning, worked a full 8-hour shift, 9 if you count the lunch, but 8-hour shift, was off at 1, got home, we left for the racetrack because I went with my parents. My parents were going, and then a buddy of mine was going too. My sister was there. So we pretty much had the family there. My grandpa couldn't make it back the next day because he had to work still, so that's why I picked up a buddy of mine. He ended up filling his ticket. So we all went, and I got off work, and I'm pretty sure we left like within 10, 15 minutes of me getting home. We got there hour and a half, 2 hours before the race started. Great to see NASCAR on a dirt track again. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. See, that's the thing. It's like if they have an absolutely epic race, do they add more dirt races in the future? I don't know if they should. I didn't even want them running dirt at Bristol. I was for them running at Knoxville or Eldora or an actual dirt track. They'd have to add more seating, but if those tracks actually want a NASCAR, like if they want a NASCAR race and they're willing to put money into having a NASCAR race, they'll add more seats. If they don't want to add more seats, then they don't feel the need that they need NASCAR at their track. And that's fine too. But I'm not one for having dirt at Bristol. I would have rather them have taken another track off the schedule. I'm trying to think. Like maybe they could have done a truck and cup race at Eldora, for instance, because they're running Eldora. Not because it's in my home state. I'm not throwing that in the mix, but just because the truck's already raced there before, they would have done Truck Series, Cup Series at Eldora for a week, for a weekend. Same date they would have usually had it. And instead of, or I should say, with running the Eldora race, they could take away like one of the Pocono races. Or they could have taken away, instead of adding one of the road course races they did because they already added a bunch, maybe they could have added one less road course race. They would have had six road course races on the schedule, 7 road course races on the schedule instead of 7 or 8. And they could have had one dirt race at Eldora. And they could have kept the 2 Bristol dirt races, or 2 Bristol races. What time are the races tomorrow? Still don't know. Oh man, you don't know? Yeah, noon Eastern Standard Time for the truck race. And the cup race is going to be at 4. So if you're going, you might as well stay there for both races. Because the truck race will probably get over by like 2:30. Then you'll probably have like an hour and a half to 2 hours between races. But yeah, with no rain tomorrow, they'll get them both in for sure. I'm thankful that I have Mondays off of work. I'm thankful my weekends are Sunday, Monday. I can stay home and watch the race, so I'll be on my couch. Well, no, I won't be on my couch. I'll be live streaming. I'll be right here in this seat. I'll be live streaming both races. The realistic broadcast, so. If you want, tune in. We'll have a live race reaction for both. We were supposed to have that today, but we'll definitely have it again tomorrow. Going back to back. Hopefully my voice doesn't go away by the end of the cup race. Yep. Those are Eastern Standard Times, by the way. Noon and 4. Well, it's 8:30. It has been an hour. Thanks for everybody spending your Sunday night here on the channel. And I will see you pretty soon. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of fun tomorrow. Dirt Bristol. Will there be rain? No rain in the forecast. You mean to tell me you've been in the hotel the whole time and you haven't checked the weather? No rain. No rain in the forecast tomorrow or Tuesday in Bristol, Tennessee. So if it rains, it's not my fault. It's according to that weather's according to the Weather Channel. And again, the truck race is on FS1 for those of you wondering. The Cup race is still on the main Fox. Tristan Arrowwood, welcome to the stream. We're just about ready to head out of here, but thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you could, please. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We just hit that hour mark right now. So, yeah, like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We'll be back at it tomorrow with a full race live stream at noon Eastern Standard Time. We'll do a live reaction / commentary of the truck race. And then when that race ends, I'll have a couple hours in between, and we'll end up doing the Cup race. So thanks, everybody, for watching. And again, I'll see you tomorrow, or maybe tonight. We'll see. Thanks, everybody, and I'll catch you next time.